The court said, and the government may call its next witness.
Mr. Finkel said, the government calls Kimberly Espinoza.
The law clerk said, would you raise your right hand, please?
Witness sworn.
The law clerk said, thank you.
The court said, please state your name and spell it.
The witness said, Kimberly Espinoza. Kimberly Espinoza.
The court said, you may inquire.
Mr. Finkel said, thank you, Your Honor. Just one moment, please.
Kimberly Espinoza, called as a witness by the government, having been duly sworn, testified as follows. Direct examination. By Mr. Finkel.
Ms. Espinoza, can you please remind the members of the jury where you work and what your title is?
I work at the FBI and my title is a forensic accountant.
The court said, one moment please. You may continue.
Mr. Finkel said, thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Espinoza, you've testified at this trial previously. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And after you testified last time you testified at this trial, were you contacted by the case team again?
Yes, I was.
And what, if anything, did the case ask you to do?
To review new financial information and testify again.
And did you review that new financial information?
Yes, I did.
Mr. Finkel said, Your Honor, at this time, pursuant to GX Stip 14, the government offers GXVNB 1-3, GXIB 1, 3, 4, 7, GXSIG 1, GXSIL 4, GXSIL 3, GXSIL 40.
The court said, the stipulation is already in evidence?
Mr. Finkel said, Yes, Your Honor.
The court said, any objection?
Mr. Skirek said, no objection.
The court said, they are admitted.
Government's exhibits VNB 1-3, IDB 1, IDB 3, IDB 4, IDB 7, SIG 1, SIL 4, SIL 3, SIL 40 received in evidence.
Mr. Finkel said, pursuant to Stip 8, the government offers BR 451 and BR 452.
Mr. Skirek said, no objection.
The court said, they're admitted.
Government's exhibit BR 451 and BR 452 received in evidence.
Mr. Finkel said, and the government also offers GXCAP 623 and GXCAP 624.
Mr. Skirek said, no objection.
The court said, they're admitted.
Government's exhibits CAP 623 and CAP 624 received in evidence.
Mr. Finkel said, thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Loftus, if we could please display for the witness what's been marked for identification as GXZ12. And if you can just flip through that so Ms. Espinoza can take a look at it. We can go back to page 1.
By Mr. Finkel.
Ms. Espinoza, do you recognize this document?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
It's an analysis of financial statements that I assisted with.
And did you review this analysis?
Yes, I did.
Did you check it for accuracy based on the underlying exhibits?
Yes, I did.
Is it accurate?
Yes, it is.
And are those underlying exhibits voluminous records?
Yes, they are.
And what kind of records are the underlying exhibits?
Bank accounts, like bank statements, checks, deposits, withdrawals. And also some documentation relating to a property.
Mr. Finkel said, the government offers Z12.
Mr. Skirek said, no objection.
The court said, it is admitted.
Government's exhibit Z12 received in evidence.
Mr. Finkel said, if we could publish it, please. Ms. Espinoza, at a high level, what was the money flow, if any, that you analyzed in this chart?
It was money that was transferred from Crane Advisory Group LLC to Lowell and Mitchell, LLC. And then the ongoing of funds from there.
The court said, I didn't catch where you said it was transferred.
The witness said, Lowell and Mitchell.
Do you know what Crane Advisory Group is?
I do not.
Do you know who Hatham Khaled is?
I do not.
Okay. This is the first. We're looking at the first slide of Z12, Ms. Espinoza. And at the top left, it says capital 1887 and 890. What do those numbers refer to?
Those are the last 4 digits of 2 bank accounts.
Bank accounts in the name of what entity?
Crane Advisory Group, LLC.
Mr. Finkel said, if we could go to the next slide, please. And what are we looking at here on slide 2?
These are the signature cards for those 2 Crane Advisory Group, LLC bank accounts.
What's the signature card?
It's a card provided by the bank listing all the account information and then who's the authorized user or signer of the account.
What's the business name at the top of each of these accounts? The 887 and 890 accounts.
It's Crane Advisory Group, LLC.
And what is the signature at the bottom of these signature cards?
Hatham Khaled.
Mr. Finkel said, we can go to the next slide, please, Ms. Loftus. And what does this slide represent, Ms. Espinoza?
There were additional Crane Advisory Group, LLC bank accounts that were not at Capital One. So there were 7 accounts at 3 other banks.
And they were all in the name of Crane Advisory Group?
Yes, they were.
Mr. Finkel said, could we go to the next slide, please? And what are we looking at here?
These are 3 signature cards for those bank accounts I just referred to. So they're for IDB Bank and for Signature Bank.
And these accounts are in the name of what entities?
Crane Advisory Group, LLC.
And what is the contact information on these 3 documents on the screen, or the name of the individual?
The name of the signer?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Is Hatham Khaled.
Mr. Finkel said, okay. We can go to the next slide, please, Ms. Loftus. What is Lowell and Mitchell?
I'm not sure.
Did you look at bank account information for Lowell and Mitchell?
Yes, I did.
And is that at Valley National Bank?
Yes, it is.
Mr. Finkel said, could we go to the next slide, please, Ms. Loftus? And can you explain to the members of the jury, Ms. Espinoza, what this slide represents? Slide 6.
At the bottom is just like an example of one of the statements. So it just shows it said Valley National Bank, it says Lowell and Mitchell, LLC, the address is also listed there. And the last 4 digits of the account, which is 1500.
Okay. Do you know who Aaron Mitchell is?
I do not.
Mr. Finkel said, Ms. Loftus, if you could bring up GX 128, please, which is in evidence. Do you know who this individual is?
I do not.
Mr. Finkel said, Ms. Loftus, if we could go back to Z12 at page 6, please. And on the left side of, on the left of this slide, Ms. Espinoza, it says balance as of September 26th. What is the balance as of September 26th, 2021?
$73,672.
Mr. Finkel said, and if we could go to the next slide, please, Ms. Loftus. And so are these the 3, the groups of accounts that you were analyzing, at least initially?
Yes, that's correct.
Mr. Finkel said, let's go to the next slide, please, Ms. Loftus. So we're on slide 8 now, Ms. Espinoza, and what does slide 8 depict? Can you describe it, please, to the members of the jury?
So the 2 Crane Advisory Group, LLC Capital One accounts ending in 0887 and 0890 transferred a total of $37,006,848 on September 29, 2021. To Lowell and Mitchell LLC's bank account at Valley National Bank.
Do you know why those 2 Crane accounts transferred $37 million and change on September 29, 2021?
I do not.
Mr. Finkel said, if we can go to the next page, please, Ms. Loftus. What does this page represent? Slide 9.
The total there at the bottom is the $37,006,848 that I just said from the previous slide. So this is 3 separate transfers which add up to that total.
And why is there an asterisk on the first transfer, the date of the first transfer?
Because the wire went through on September 29, 2021, but on the Capital One statement. The date of the transaction was listed as September 10, 2021.
Do you know the reason for that delay?
I do not.
Mr. Finkel said, if we can go to slide 10, please, Ms. Loftus. Ms. Espinoza, can you describe what slide 10 represents?
So for the other 7 bank accounts at the other 3 banks of Crane, for Crane Advisory Group, LLC bank accounts, $9,542,511 was transferred to Lowell and Mitchell at Valley National Bank between September 27, 2021 and October 27, 2021.
And prior to these transfers, can you remind the jury approximately how much money was in the Lowell and Mitchell account?
It was about $73,000.
Mr. Finkel said, if we can go to slide 11, please, Ms. Loftus. And what does this slide represent?
The total at the bottom is the $9,542,511 from the prior slide. So this is just showing each individual transfer, which makes up that amount.
And so there were some transfers of less than $10. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
That's what the records show.
Yes.
Mr. Finkel said, if we could go to slide 12, please. And so Ms. Espinoza, turning to slide 12. What was the total amount transferred by these 9 Crane Advisory Group bank accounts into Lowell and Mitchell?
$46,549,359.
Did you follow the money flow from the Lowell and Mitchell account further?
Yes, I did.
Mr. Finkel said, go to slide 13, please, Ms. Loftus. And can you tell the jury what we're looking at in slide 13?
On November 8, 2021, Lowell and Mitchell, that same account that we've been discussing at Valley National Bank, transferred $46,549,275 to an account at Silvergate Bank called Hamilton Opportunity Fund SPC.
What is Hamilton Opportunity Fund SPC?
I do not know.
Mr. Finkel said, if we can go to slide 14, please. And by the way, Ms. Espinoza, aside from your testimony today on this chart and your testimony, I guess a week or so ago on that chart, did you have any other involvement in this case?
I did not.
Ms. Espinoza, can you explain to the members of the jury what we're looking at on slide 14?
This is a signature card for the Silvergate Bank account. They referred to it as a master agreement. So it says the 2 people who are authorized to use the account are Kin Ming J.E. and David Fallon.
And Kin Ming J.E. is on the left side?
Yes.
Do you know who that individual is?
I do not.
Mr. Finkel said, Ms. Loftus, can we please pull up Government Exhibit 103?
Mr. Skirek said, objection. Is there a question?
Mr. Finkel said, I'm just waiting for the document to load. My question is, Ms. Espinoza, do you know who this individual is depicted in Government Exhibit 103?
I do not.
Do you know if this is Kin Ming J.E.?
I do not.
Mr. Finkel said, can we go back please to Government Exhibit Z12 at slide 14? And what was the balance prior to these transfers, approximately?
$29 million.
Mr. Finkel said, go to slide 15, please, Ms. Loftus. What happened to the $46.5 million and change that was transferred from Lowell and Mitchell into the Hamilton Opportunity Fund? 7,739 account? What happened to it after that?
On December 2, 2021, the same amount, so $46,549,275, was transferred to another Hamilton Opportunity Fund account at Silvergate Bank. The account's last four digits are 7713.
And was there any information in these wire transfers that's not reflected on the chart about the reason for these transfers?
On the bank statement, it did say investor incorrect account, or something to that effect.
And do you know who put that information into the wire transfer?
I do not.
Continued on next page. By Mr. Finkel.
Do you know why that information was included?
It could have been the bank. It could have been the sender, but I don't know why.
Can we go to slide 16, please, Ms. Loftus? The next slide. Ms. Espinoza, what are we looking at here?
This is a mass agreement or signature card for Silvergate Bank at 7713. And it's the same authorized users, which are Kin Ming J.E. and David Fallon.
Kin Ming J.E. and David Fallon are the authorized users for both of these Hamilton Opportunity Fund accounts. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
What was the balance in this Hamilton Opportunity Fund 7713 account prior to the $46.5 million transfer?
$4,779,188.
Ms. Espinoza, did you also track the money flow after this $46.5 million went from Crane Advisory Group to Lowell and Mitchell to Hamilton Opportunity Fund to a second Hamilton Opportunity Fund? Did you find out what happened to it after that?
Yes, I did.
Go to the next slide, please, Ms. Loftus. What happened on December 8, 2021?
$2 million payment was made to McDonald Whitaker Attorney Trust.
If we can go to the next slide, please. Ms. Espinoza, what happened on December 16, 2021?
$24,500,000. A payment was made to Insight Title Services, LLC Trust.
And that payment was made from which account?
The Hamilton Opportunity Fund 7713 account.
If we can go to the next slide, please. What does this slide depict?
An additional $13 million was sent to Buck Esquire, LLC Attorney Trust account between December 1, 2021 and March 2, 2022.
So in total, approximately how much money was transferred from, bringing the money flow all the way down? But ultimately from this Hamilton Opportunity Fund 7713 between December 8 and March 2, 2022.
$39,500,000.
Ms. Espinoza, did you also review documents from Insight Title Services, LLC Trust?
Yes, I did.
Documents pertaining to this $24.5 million?
Well, documents related to a property which is approximately that amount, yes.
Can we go to the next slide, please? Is this one of the documents that you reviewed?
Yes, it is.
It says at the top settlement statement HUD-1. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you know what an HUD-1 statement is?
In looking at the statement, it just for like a property purchase, so it lists the borrower, the seller, the purchase price, and borrower and seller transactions.
And if we can zoom in on the G box on the left side at the top. Are you able to read that, Ms. Espinoza?
Yes. Property location, 675, Ramapo Valley Road, Moa, New Jersey, 07430. Would you like the rest?
No. That's okay. Can you zoom out of that, please? Can you zoom into the box above it where it says name and address of borrower? According to this document, Ms. Espinoza, what is the name of the borrower?
Taurus Fund, LLC.
Do you know what that is?
I do not.
Ms. Loftus, can you zoom in on row 101 where it says contract sales price? What is the contract sales price of this home?
$26 million.
And if we can zoom in, please, on row 201. What does it say for the deposit or earnest money?
$2 million.
Ms. Loftus, you can go back to slide 19. How much was the transfer on December 8, 2021 to McDonnell Whitaker Attorney Trust?
$2 million.
Go back to slide 20, the next slide, please, Ms. Loftus. If we can go to the next slide. Are these additional documents from Insight Title Services?
Yes.
If you can zoom in, Ms. Loftus, on the first row on the left. Go all the way over to the right. Can you read across this row, please, the first row, Ms. Espinoza?
On December 17, 2021, Taurus Fund LLC, HUD line 303, cash from borrower, and it's a deposit amount of $24,344,844.44.
Zoom out of that. The bottom of the document, it says $155,155.56. Can you explain the document on the right?
The document on the right is a wire transfer for that same amount. It's made from Insight Title to Buck Esquire, LLC, and there's a note at the bottom which says Overfund.
Ms. Loftus, if you can zoom in on the last row of the last document, the second to last row. Can you read the last, next to December 17, 2021, beginning with Crocker?
Crocker Mansion Estate, LLC, a New Jersey limited liability company, HUD line 603, cash to seller, $10,852,425.02.
Have you ever been to 675 Ramapo Valley Road?
I have not.
You ever been to the Crocker Mansion?
No further.
Mr. Finkel said, "Thank you, Ms. Espinoza." Nothing.
The court said, cross-examination.
Cross-examination. By Mr. Skirek.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just briefly. Good to see you again, Ms. Espinoza. As we covered last time, you testified the government's lawyers asked you for the first time to testify in this case about 3 weeks ago. Right, maybe a little more.
Maybe 3 to 4 weeks ago.
And again, you didn't know anything about this case before the prosecutor asked you to testify.
I did not.
And again, as we covered, you weren't part of the FBI's investigative team on this matter.
Correct.
And you're not part of the prosecution team.
Correct.
And, in fact, as you testified on direct, you haven't really had any involvement in this case aside from your testimony and then your prep for the testimony. Right.
Yes, that's correct.
Now, just turning to the chart briefly, can you just tell me who created the first draft of the chart?
I believe it was a forensic accountant, not myself, another forensic accountant at the FBI.
And approximately when was that?
It was maybe 2 weeks ago.
And after that first draft, you and the government lawyers talked about the chart.
I think I may have received it at like maybe version 3 or 4. So I wasn't involved in the initial conversations.
In the earlier version. And after you received it in version 3 or 4. How many additional versions were there after that?
I believe this is version 5, 5 or 6, but I believe it's 5.
Fair enough. Let's just take a quick look at the chart. If we could pull it up, please. Government Exhibit C, 12. I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions. We can flip through this quickly. If we could please go to page 4, the title of this slide is Crane Advisory, I'm sorry. Withdrawn. Off to the right-hand side of this page in a box that's outlined in green it says Crane Advisory 7 accounts at 3 banks. Right.
Correct.
And this slide displays 2 signature cards at IDB Bank, right?
Yes.
And then 1 signature card from Signature Bank.
Yes.
Was there a third bank involved here?
Yes, there was.
And was that bank Morgan Stanley?
Yes, it was.
And how many accounts did Crane have at Morgan Stanley if you recall?
4 accounts.
And there aren't any signature cards from those accounts at Morgan Stanley displayed here, right?
Correct.
If we could please go to page 8. Now I believe you were asked this on direct. But you don't know what Lowell and Mitchell is, right?
I do not.
Do you know why it's receiving funds?
I do not.
So you don't know, for example, if Lowell and Mitchell is one of G Club's attorneys, right?
I do not know.
If we could go to slide 13, please. Now. This slide shows Lowell and Mitchell sending money to Hamilton Opportunity Fund SBC, right?
Yes, it does.
And you testified that you don't know what kind of fund Hamilton is, right?
I do not know what type of fund it is, no.
You don't know in whose name these funds are listed at Hamilton, right?
I believe we have signature cards on the next slide for them and the names that are listed.
So let me just rephrase that because the question may have been unclear. Within Hamilton, the entity. You don't know what account within Hamilton the funds are held, right, as opposed to the bank.
Yeah, I only know the bank account information.
Right. Yes. Thank you. That was the distinction I was trying to draw. Thank you. And if we could go to page 15, please. This slide shows an internal transfer within Signature Bank, right? Between one account for Hamilton to another account for Hamilton.
Yes, it's a transfer between the two accounts.
Right. So this isn't actually money leaving Silvergate Bank, right? In the last arrow between the two bottom boxes.
The last transfer is between Silvergate Bank to a Silvergate Bank account.
It's fair to call that an internal transfer, to not leaving the bank.
Yes, that's fair.
And this happens on December 2nd, 2021, right?
Yes.
And you don't know why, right?
Correct.
And you don't know, for example, the funds were initially directed to the wrong account.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that?
You don't know if, for example, the funds were initially directed to the wrong account.
I do not know that.
If we could please turn to slide 20. And you testified on direct a moment ago that this is a HUD-1 form. Right.
Yes.
Is this form a standard government form in the purchase and sale of real estate to your knowledge?
I'm not sure whether it's a standard form or not.
Let's zoom in on the upper left. I believe it's D. This is a little bit of an eye test here. But I think it's the first box on the upper left. And it says Taurus Fund LLC. You see that?
Yes.
And do you have experience with real estate transactions as part of your work as a forensic accountant for the FBI?
I do.
And it's common, isn't it? In the purchase of higher-end real estate for the buyer to create an LLC to hold title.
I don't know if it's common or not.
If we could zoom in on what is to the right of that E, and it's a little blurry. Can you see there that the name of the seller appears to be Crocker Mansion Estate, LLC? A New Jersey limited liability company.
Yes.
And does that sort of indicate to you that the seller here too was an LLC?
Yes, the seller here is an LLC.
Mr. Skirrick said, "No further questions at this time, Your Honor."
The court said redirect.
Mr. Finkel said, "Nothing, Your Honor." Thank you, Ms. Espinoza.
The court said you may step.
Witness excused.